That's good talk. Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending tonight. I'm not sure if this is being streamed, Wendy. I guess it is, eh?
Yep.
Thank you for setting that up and thank you.
Zoom update.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our meeting of the Stratford Town Council, and thank you everyone for attending. Just want to, before we start, I just want to, first of all, acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq. We pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. I just want to bring just a moment for us to think about a couple of things that have made the news and are really horrific things in the last few days. One is the discovery of 215 Indigenous graves of Indigenous children that perished in residential schools due to neglect and being taken from home and against their will and that sort of thing. So just really want to make sure that everyone, we acknowledge that, and we also look within ourselves to see what we can do to make sure this sort of thing does never happens again. And the second thing is the horrific terrorist attack that took place on our Muslim community in London, Ontario. It's something that by attacking this community, they attack all of us, and it's because they're an integral part of our Canadian family. So really, it's an attack on all of us. So really, again, look within yourself and really try to consider how we can learn from this and make sure that we do whatever we can to keep our community, everyone in our community, safe. And the hatred that motivated this is really something that we try to eradicate within our community, within our province, within our country. So with that, we will now go to the agenda, which is before you. First of all, I'd like to go to item number 2, declaration of conflict of interest. If there's any items on the agenda to which causes a conflict of interest for any council member, please declare so now.
I'm going to have to declare a conflict on item G, resolution on the noise and nuisance bylaw exception. They're family.
Okay.
It's a personal.
Okay, thank you. So noted. Any other, anyone else?
Yes, which will also declare a conflict of interest on 12C.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So that means that you won't be taking part in the debate or in the vote. Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on to item number 7. That's my report. I beg your pardon? I'm sorry, I skipped over that, didn't I? Yeah, and I skipped over the minutes too. Get ahead of myself here. Okay, we'll now ask for a motion for approval of the agenda, unless there's an item anyone would like to add or change the order of. Could I have a motion for approval of the agenda? Thank you. Second, thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Okay, we'll now look at the minutes of our regular monthly meeting of 26th of May, or the special council meeting of 26th of May 2021, and our regular council meeting minutes of the 12th of May 2021. And if there's any omissions or revisions that are required.
I'll move the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Both sets? Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those against? Motion carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes that are not on our current agenda? Anything, Robert, that we talked about or need to follow up last time, or any council notice anything that we won't be discussing tonight? Okay, if not, we'll move to presentations from the floor. Are there any presentations from the floor, Robert? Okay, now we'll get to my report, which I got a little ahead of myself on. So it's the report is in your package. I guess a couple of the highlights are you got the council meeting with Minister James Elwood and his Deputy Minister Transportation Infrastructure, Mr. Darren Chason. And the reason for that meeting was to discuss our pressing need for more infrastructure funding here in Stratford and how we can really get to the point where we're able to put the infrastructure in place that residents want and need. Also, immediate event that to announce the major new switch program that makes funding available to homeowners to improve energy efficiency. And also participated in support of the initiative to try to make the EI zones back to one zone to make things fair for Stratford residents who may have occasion to apply for employment insurance. Any questions on any of the items in my report? If not, we'll move to Chief Administrative Officer report.
Thank you, Your Worship. My report is in your package. Just highlight an item or two. We were able to get the community campus agreements on the land extended to the end of July, so we can go through our rezoning process and hopefully tie that all up and be able to close that agreement. Met with several groups, AKA group and Grey group, about some of the things that are happening in Stratford, and happy to answer questions on any of the items.
I understand you made a presentation to the meeting of the FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and was well received. So thank you for doing that.
Well, it was nice to be asked. Good exposure for Stratford.
Anything else? Anybody have any questions? Thanks for your report, Robert. Okay, we will now, well, before we move, I neglected to mention a couple of items in my report. First of all, I want to mention, give a shout out to a Stratford resident, Donna Gill, who's a teacher at Charlottetown Rural. She was recognized for excellence in teaching. And also Nicole Derry, who was recognized for coaching excellence by Hockey Pete and named as Hockey Pete Guy's Coach of the Year nominee for a national award. One of two nominees for a national award. I also want to mention the former Stratford resident Kevin Elliott, who won gold with the Canadian hockey team competing at the World Championships. So congratulations to all three of them.
So great to see your worship. Our Corey Dwyer was a winner of championship team under 18.
Oh yes,
Kevin Elliott on Stratford Races.
Kevin Elliott got 2 gold medals this year. That's right.
Senior Stratford Races.
Yeah, I know Kevin quite well. We coached together at baseball and we also with the hockey team where his son played on as well. Yeah, and, he's a great guy. And yeah, Corey Dwyer as well. Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to those people.
World champions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, we'll now move to the Safety Services report. As Chair of the Safety Services Committee, Councillor Derek Smith, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Hello, everybody out in Facebook land. I know you're watching tonight, so welcome to the meeting. Number 8A, 9A, the Safety Services meeting was held on the 17th of May. The information is in your package. Nothing really outstanding there. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them as best I can. Just our Safety Services meeting is right after the town council meeting, so it's kind of redundant in places. Is there any questions in regards to Safety Services meeting minutes? And obviously, we are looking after speed bumps, it's a big issue with us, the active transportation across the bridge, and of course, the school area, the crossing lights and stuff like that. It's all being worked on at this time.
One question that a lot of people wonder about is that policy that for the speed bumps. Maybe if you just give like a few little quick highlights on what that entails.
It's a work in progress. There was a policy brought before the members, and they had some concerns and or revisions they wanted to be made. And we accept those, so it's being worked on. I think it's Jeremy. Our biggest concern is when people want speed bumps, they do it with sound greasing. But, because everybody wants speed bumps, we're trying to get everybody organized that when speed bumps going in on the street, they're informed, and they have a yay or nay opinion on it. So that's what we're trying to do now.
Is there a process, a draft process you can speak to? If I'm a resident that wants a speed bump on my road, how do I start that process? Can we speak to that at this time or?
That one I'll turn over to Jeremy.
So what we're looking at is permanent speed humps. We're gonna have a different process for that. Where we want to have more buy-in from the entire street before we actually put the permanent speed humps in. We were looking at that same policy for both the permanent and non-permanent ones, but we felt that for the non-permanent ones, it was more of an onerous process and it put a lot of pressure on the residents to go around and collect information, go door to door. And we didn't feel at this time with COVID and other reasons that we should go that route. Maybe with the permanent ones that we do have to have more of a buy-in because they're going to be there for a long time. But we want to simplify the process for the non-permanent speed humps, but something better than what we have now where you just call in and request. Right? We want to have a little more buy-in where the resident does talk to the immediately adjoining properties to make sure that they're comfortable with them. Just a little more of a process in the application. So we're still working on that right now and hope to bring something back to the next meeting.
And what kind of waiting list do you have right now for that temporary?
We just got 5 new sets, so it's not too bad right now, but and we are rotating them around still. So, but prior to getting the new sets, we had probably about a month waiting list, or a month before we get the speed humps moved around.
Jeremy, you mentioned the residence proper procedure that when you were talking there about calling the RCP directly with the speed problem and or one line, the rest of the line.
Yeah, at every step we do that, whether it's the front desk or other areas like if there's a speeding issue in the area or with someone speeding, we want them to contact the RCP directly, call on the non-emergency number, and that way they can give the full detail to the RCP. They get the information firsthand. It's not to say that we still won't put a speed hump in there, but if there is a speeding issue, it's usually 1 or 2 people that are causing the issue. And sometimes it just means the RCP either lay a charge or give them a ticket or have a conversation with them. It stops, right? But we're trying to encourage the residents to make that call first. And the RCP, that's what they're requesting too, is to have those calls come directly to them.
And I think there's a place on our website too, will be for complaints, that will go out under complaints too.
Yeah, it can come through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to find out how what's the month?
Once the new speed hump
Okay.
request is finalized, we'll have that actually right on the website, but yeah.
Ideally, we'd have enough to, so we wouldn't have to rotate them, and we could leave them for the summer, because I know it takes a lot of staff time to do some expense to that, and when they're doing speed humps, they can't be doing something else, so it's kind of thing where it'd be nice to have enough for all the requests or all the areas that are where it's a chronic problem area.
Yeah, what we're trying to determine, there are areas that are common issues every year. And, those are the areas that are candidates for permanent speed humps. We were ready to put a permanent speed hump in a few years back, but there were some complaints from the residents. At that time, council wanted us to take another look at it. And we haven't been able to get those permanent speed humps in since, but I think once we have this policy in place, and we have the information supporting permanent speed hump, that's what we're going to try to do in those areas so that they're there year round. We don't have to worry about them. It wasn't I was talking to the draft engineer the last few days. He's in support of that too. They're working out well on Marion Drive. You have to put more in certain areas, not everywhere, but places that are continually a chronic area that's complained about every year. The permanent speed humps will solve that.
And I think the long-term solution is something that I've been advocating for a long time, and I know the current Minister of Transportation has come up recently in support of, and that is the speed radar. The actually either being able to send a notice of speeding or actually an actual ticket based on a camera recording of it. So whenever that happens, whenever the province, if they move ahead on that, that will be probably something that we could consider as part of the budget process to look at purchasing a speed camera and moving it around or whatever.
It's something we can certainly investigate if the legislation is changed.
Thank you.
So getting back to the point, town of Stratford has been here for many years and gone many road trades. One of the first phases of town of Stratford went from straight, long streets, out in Marion Drive, places like that. And that was a cause of speeding issues. Now we make streets decide that they're a little more crooked, not as fast, and a lot of stop signs, and that has slowed traffic down. When we get a request for a speed bump, the first thing we do is put in our trailers that records the speeds. And yes, people think that those are broken and are not flashing lights. They are working. They're collecting data on them. And then those determine what the issue is. The RCMP can also be notified the date and time that the speeding is going on, their information. And then after that, we go through the next process of requesting speed bumps and getting speed bumps put in. Recently at the FCM, held last week, was in a session there, and they now have machines or whatever that goes on top of street lights. They're both the size of a pop can. And those record camera, visualize recording speeds, and they're a seeing eye thing for the whole community. So that's the next stage we need to look at, is these little things at major intersections and more major trouble spots. Put these in, but that's the future. That's the history of it right now. Okay, any more questions on the minutes? All right, having said that, streetlight reports, I was going to mention streetlights with this little camera atop the streetlights, that's already mentioned. So we'll move to 9C, the RCMP, and I want to thank Constable Sanders for being here tonight, answering any questions that I cannot answer. So we have a new forms tonight for us to look at. But basically, what we are looking at here is the number of tickets for the month. There's 35 tickets or sites written for the month, 9 warnings. And the statistics are there. It is quite lengthy and complicated for myself. I think the majority of the council would like to see the old form back, where it's just monthly reports and the yearly report. However, this is a process they have now used. And there are probably a few questions on that, so I'll open the floor. Questions to Constable Sanders and myself.
Where do you see the summary offense ticket total?
That was reported to me from Constable Sanders.
But is it on the new report somewhere?
I'll let you answer the question.
Good evening. The summary offense report is missing from these here reports this month. I'm not sure why it was overlooked, but it was overlooked. As Councillor Smith explained, I did pulled it up the report that we get in the car 5 minutes before the meeting with 35 slots in that one. But yeah, I'm not sure why it's not in here as of last month.
Looks like a pretty detailed report.
So the new reports contain all the same information as the old report does. It is a different format. Like most, we don't like change, but this is an automated process that's a lot faster and completed by our analyst. It takes the work away from the public servant at the detachment level, and it's done by the criminal analyst for the province, as opposed to her doing it by hand. It does look cumbersome, but all the numbers are really the same as what they were before. Once you get used to it. I did have to have a sit down with the crime analyst to explain to me what all these numbers meant. But once he did that, it was pretty easy to read. So there are two different reports. You have one that has, so it says monthly stats and crime rate. So that's your month. So that's just the month of May, 2021 and 2020. They compare the two. And then if you go over to, gives you the previous month trend, whether it's up or down. And then you have three columns at the very end, which again, those were the ones that I was confused about, but those are the rates of calls per 1,000 people. So you'll see the town of Stratford, then you'll see Queen's District in general, so all of Queen's District RCMP detachment. And then you go to L Division, which is the PEI RCMP's jurisdictions. So it compares the three. So you have Stratford, then you have Queens, and then you have the province. And it's how many files per 1,000 persons. So if you go to, I'll find an easy one here for you. Speeding violations. So it's the second from the bottom on the first page. We have 1.13 speeding violations per 1,000 population in Stratford, 3.02 speeding violations for the rest of the province. So we're at approximately about a third. You'll notice that it's in 2021 it has 11 and 2020 it has 1. So it does look like you're up 10. There's been a change in the reporting procedure as it relates to how we handle the tickets. So prior to e-ticketing or the electronic ticketing that came in a couple months ago, we would create one file for speeding for traffic a month. That would contain all of our tickets. So whether there was 20 speeding tickets or 40 speeding tickets, it would count as one file. With e-ticketing, it creates a file for every traffic stop. So that could be 11 tickets, or that could be 11 complaints. But every traffic stop just creates its new a new file, which is why it goes from 11 this year compared to 1 last year. That translates to the other report, which shows that speeding is actually up 187%. It's not. That you're comparing apples to oranges right there. Again, that's 31 in 2020 compared to 89 in 2021. With every traffic ticket for speed, it creates a file. This year, last year, it didn't. So that's complaints from the public or tickets self-generated by the police. So moving forward, 2022, 2023, you'll see those numbers will be apples to apples instead of apples to oranges for last year. And that goes with seatbelt violations, et cetera. So in summary, it's a lot easier for us to compile these reports as opposed to someone doing it by hand. And you can get a lot more data if we're open to change, open to less, open to whatever you'd like to see. But, this is what we've come up with for.
So basically what we're saying here is that this system allows you officers to be on the road more. You don't have to be in an office.
Well, this data, this table itself was created by our analyst, who's not a police officer, as opposed to the district assistant or the secretary, who did it by hand. So now it's just done by a computer program.
So I can see where there'd be more time on the road because you're not asking questions back in the office. So anyway, that's my spin on it. Let's go to the Stratford's mayor's report, traffic collisions. I noticed that Kinlock Road, Stratford Road, Route 1, Hopeton Road, and Mount Herbert Road. Are those mainly intersections, what we're talking about, the accidents?
It doesn't say, but I would gather yes. Those are the very Stratford Road, Kinlock Road, we've got Route 1 in Stratford, Hopeton, and Mount Herbert. I'm not sure if that's at the TCH or, Mount Herbert Road is actually the collision involving the radar, the mobile radar. But the others, those are, high volume areas. I would assume they were at intersections for the most part. That's where our collisions happen.
So our camera system at intersections would help you guys, especially with conflicting stories.
It's not going to hurt. The collisions are usually of low severity, but the ones that are major ones, I know, yeah, a camera always helps.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions regarding to statistics of the RCMP?
So yes. So we lost the monthly, month by month report.
No, the month by month report is there.
Okay, I don't have it. Does anyone else have it?
There are two tables.
Oh,
So you have the calendar year, and then you have the month.
We don't.
we don't have this packet.
We don't. We probably thought.
Okay.
Same report.
Yeah. All right, my apologies. I thought you had both.
I think we had a hard time downloading that one, Mary, did we?
No, this is the one, that we had a hard time downloading.
Yeah.
Greg helped me.
Okay. So it's
So
just.
my apologies. I thought you had both.
It's wrong things.
Yeah, there is a month one there. I can get the analyst to send that out. That's no problem.
Okay, and we used to go back 4 years and now we're just going back 2 years. I wonder if we could stick 3 years in there for the month.
No, year to date, there are 4 years.
The month, one. Month.
Oh.
It's just 2. It's just 2 on this report. I'm sorry, I took it from you.
Stats. There's a stats report in here, 5 years. But on the Queen's district. And crime stats. That's the overall.
But not month by month.
No, it's only.
So I mean, yeah, it won't compare May 21 to May 8. Yeah, it does. But it does do it year to date. I can ask him to improve.
Yeah, so the year one goes 4 years, and the month by month goes 2 years.
Yeah, the year
We'd be
to,
happy with 3 years for both.
I can make that request. Yeah.
We all have a big interest in the RCMP report. We let you run your own show, and anything major comes to us, we let you know about it. Okay, any more questions in terms of statistics?
I just have a question with the, just an update on the damage to property files, bus stops. I know there's thousands of dollars throughout our town. Just wondering if there's any follow-up investigation, any leads, or not, just ongoing, sorry.
Just for information purposes, the public, there were the bus shelters and around the town of Stratford and the city of Charlotte now were damaged, glass smashed. The investigation is ongoing. We don't discuss ongoing investigations in the public meetings. However, the program that we tried to detach the program would have helped in this case. So it's something that we should be looking at. And it might not have caught the people at the scene. But they might have caught the vehicle around the town, you get a license plate, leads and stuff like that, so. Yeah, the investigation is ongoing, right?
I wonder, Counselor Smith, if your safety service, I know I entertained this idea 6-7 years ago, the e-watch camera system. Currently, right now, Charlottetown, Summerside, and Benson have e-watch camera system. And this tool, we had e-watch in this town of Stratford, this tool was very helpful to solve this crime here at the challenge. So I think we should start having talks, maybe bring up safety services and committee and so on. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a great system. You're talking, presentation can be made and facilitated. It's no cost to taxpayers. It's all through corporate. It's just somebody take the lead here and go with the system. I'll be safe throughout the town. Not only is there walkways, crosswalks, so on, there are trails and so on with these cameras, but an intersection and so on. Charlottetown has 80, Summerside has 20 something, and Kensington has 7 or 8 going right now. And we're at 11,000 people right now. I think we should look at that.
Good point. However,
Where do we start?
City watch is an option, but we also have to look at other avenues, like they would use cameras on top of light fixtures or street lights. They capture so much more. They unbelievable with the stuff that catch and record. So it's like our traffic signs. The speed.
Oh, yes, these cameras are intersections.
But I mean, overall, the camera system, yes, should be looked at.
Yeah. I mean,
I was just gonna ask, could we ask this be raised to safety services, part of the agenda at some
Yeah,
point?
we'll put that on our agenda here. That's what I was.
just bring it on there.
And if there's no other questions, and there's an announcement, we have the corporate. Mike Hadley.
Lutley.
Lutley.
Mike Lutley.
I knew I missed that. Corporal Lutley is a present corporal in the RCMP. It's not a promotional move. He was moved from Queens District over to the Stratford area. He is a resident of this town. He has made contact with us, and he's hoping to feel what Clint Dudley has done for us. So I'm looking forward to working with him in the future. Corporal Dudley is not here tonight. He's obviously on assignment over in Nova Scotia. So that's it for the RCMP report.
Corporal has big shoes involved.
I'm not sure if Corporal Lutley can fit Corporal Dudley's shoes. I don't think anyone can. But yeah, he's over in Nova Scotia. And Corporal Lutley should be here. Well, he's on the island, obviously, but I believe he takes the seat from Glenn or Corporal Dudley next week.
So congratulations. Thank you very much. Any other questions in regard to policing? If not, we can move on.
I just have a comment with regard to Corporal Dudley. I think he's served us really well, and really want to express my appreciation to him for that. If you would convey that to him, I appreciate it. And also you, Constable Saunders, thank you for coming tonight and for all you're doing to keep us safe. So thank you.
No problem with you.
And welcome to Corporal Lutley. Look forward to meeting him.
I believe he was. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't believe Corporal Lutley's new to Stratford. For some reason, I want to say he was posted as a constable here. And then he got his promotion and now he's back. So he's not new. He's going to fit in right quick. And being attached to Queens already, he already knows the process of most things. So he should be here next week.
Great. Look forward to it. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to 9D, the Humane Society report. There's nothing outstanding this month. They do what they do. Anybody have any questions about the Humane Society? If not, we can move on. Okay, 9E, transfer report. Transfer file is being worked on. The numbers are there for your viewing pleasure. Again, the one thing during the pandemic, there's been highs and lows. but it stays pretty consistent. And I think the biggest concern we have is that a lot of people are working from home and not working in Charlottetown. The file is ongoing. I think September, Jeremy, we're looking at the on-demand call. So that is new and right to the whole of town in Stratford. Everybody's going to be serviced by that.
I've been meeting with the transit on Friday. So that's great.
Yes, great. So we'll update that next month.
There's some missing numbers on, we don't have April, May numbers in the transit graph. 2021. Unless it's.
You can look at your graph thing here, but you're right.
April, May aren't there.
I can give you those, like I said, about to be published in April. It's not in March, it was 104, and April was 103.
Anyway, it's pretty consistent across the months.
Just before you leave transit, I want to commend Deputy Mayor Clow and Councillor Gallant for all the work they've done and perseverance in moving transit in Ward 3 forward, and hopefully in September we'll be able to make that happen.
Not there yet.
They have moved from Ward 3, but they have not serviced the whole town. Ward 1 and Ward 2 have your set.
That's what I've been saying for 15 years.
That's the whole town.
It's not just kind of one ward.
Yeah, I was listening to an article on CBC News today, Mr. Oliver, transportation, talking about a transit for Island Y from Surrey to Ignition on it. And that the rural people get tap into this too, so it's moving forward.
Yeah, I think that ties in quite well.
Yes, yeah.
With the population growth that we're going to hit, we won't need transit in this province. Because people are starting to move over to the countries, low-lying areas, and the cost of vehicles is very high. They can go with one vehicle and use transit. They'll do that. So that's why it's necessary to have transit. Okay. And we get to go from gas and diesel over to electric. So it's an ongoing thing. All right, hit no more questions. Transit, we move to our fire calls. Fire calls for the month are there for your thing. May, we had 2 structural fires, one a pine fire, a tree on a power line, and building in the vehicle. I talked to Kevin Reynolds, and he said there was nothing outstanding in regards to the fire department, in regards to calls. We had a meeting and talked to Bill Hogan, and he pointed out a few things to us that could be done. One is that any vehicle being driven by a resident who does not live in the fire district, the insurance policy will cover off some of the costs. So they might start looking at that. So in other words, we have an accident within the town of Stratford, and one vehicle is from Quebec. They're not covered over fire dues, they don't pay fire dues, so we can make application to the insurance companies to get reimbursed for some money. So that's going to help if we get on the process. And that is if the fire calls, and we've got to have any questions on fire. And if not, I have a resolution. And Town of Stratford resolution number SS 001 2021. News, noise, and nuisance bylaw exemptions, 156 Prospect Drive. Whereas the residents of 156 Prospect Drive are hosting a family wedding on August 21st, 2021 on the property and have requested an exemption to the noise and nuisance bylaw to allow for reception to continue until 1 a.m. And whereas pursuant to Section 5 of the noise and nuisance bylaw, council may approve an application for an exemption from any of the provisions of the bylaw. Be it resolved the exemption from the noise bylaw be hereby granted for a wedding reception being held at 156 Prospect Drive on the 21st of August, 2021 until 1 a.m. on the August 22nd, 2021. This resolution, hearing the recommendations of the Safety Service Committee based on a meeting held on 27th of May, 2019. So that is the resolution. I will move it. You'll second it, Gary. Thank you very much. Discussion.
Just thinking that, this is my next door neighbor, very, very good neighbors. I have no issue with following this resolution. I know that, every T is crossed, every I is dotted here. I know they've, looked at all the avenues that they have to look with the public, health safety and, so, I will be supporting this.
I must say, this is the most proactive piece of work I've ever seen. These people have been on top of it. They've been up to the chance, and I appreciate the record in getting this resolution to us.
Councillor Smith, the gondola door is,
I think they invited people.
What's this now?
have they gone door to door
Yes, yes, I have,
this year?
yes.
Yes,
This year?
yeah, they've contacted the RCMP.
Just, I did that before, I just wanted to contact the neighbors.
Yes,
I know they did back in 2019.
no, he indicated he did go around again.
This year.
Thank
He
you.
followed all the protocols that he did back in 2019. He did them all over again this year, including the parking with us, make sure that there was parking available. And that with the neighbors regarding that, so.
Yeah, I'm just curious if the neighbors were checked.
He indicated yes. He said most of them would probably be invited anyway.
And I believe, Jeremy, that all licenses were obtained for the liquor commission, so on.
I understand, that's my understanding.
Yes.
Would we have a copy of that?
We don't get into that part of it, it's just exception to noise nuisance, right? So,
You'll have it in case RCMP.
so he has contacted their RCMP and let them know that they're having the reception there, so.
I gotta say, every police crowd, every guy about it, everything that has to be done was done.
Any other discussion? Any other comments and questions? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
And that is it from Safety Services report for this month. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Councilor Smith. Okay, we'll now move to recreation, culture, and events. As chair of recreation, culture, and events committee, Councilor Glant to give us a report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Preparation Culture Events Department, June 9th, 2021. The events, the town of Stratford is looking forward to Canada Day, so many weeks away. The full year of COVID restriction, it's great to have events such as Canada Day and bring the community together to celebrate Stratford. We'll once again be mindful of CPHO restrictions. But we'll offer a variety of activities to celebrate this great country. Following is an overview of Canada Day's activities. Saturday, June 26th, we have Canada Day Trail and Park Bingo. Residents can submit completed cards for draws of $50 gift cards to local business. Second is Canada Day Home Decorating, June 26th to July 1st. Week-long virtual promotions, June 26th to July 1st. And Sunday, June 27th. Fascinating maritime lake performance at Cotton Park inside. Pre-registration required, no cost attendant. Donations are always greatly accepted. Thursday on Canada Day, we have a message from your worship, Mayor Steve Ogden. Celebrate Stratford, Canada Day Motorcade, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Of course, our Strawberry Socials back to Town Center, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And we have a Day in Life of Stratford photography event on Facebook. Residents can submit photos from the Canada Day experience in Stratford to be eligible for a $50 gift certificate from local business. Special thank you to the Heritage Canada for the financial support of town's Canada Day celebrations. The potential for large events on the horizon, Stratford's planning for a fall fest will be held September 24th, 25th, 26th at Bolton's Conservation Park. Fall Fest was originally held in October 2019 and designated to celebrate Stratford's parks and trail networks. Stratford Youth and Center Council, Youth Center Yard Sale is on June 12th at Cotton Park. You can, I believe today, Jeremy, the guest name today, you drop stuff off, or yard sale?
And tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow as well. Tomorrow's the final day.
Okay. Encourage everybody to drop some off with some storage there. I know I got an air conditioner 4 or 5 years old and take that, sell it for, make some money. So I think you get home around your branch, just encourage you to drop it off and support the youth center. They're alumni. Youth Center paintball trip planned on June 19th. Youth Center and the season trip to plan for June 26th. Bus rent take group to Sam Smith. Youth Center raffle tickets are sold by youth members. Tickets are $5 each. 3 prizes this year. First place is $500 Sobeys gift card. Second place is $250 Sobeys gift card, and $100 from Sobeys gift card. So that's $850 there for Sobeys, and greatly appreciated. Youth Center members completed a roadside cleanup on Bunbury Road in May. They have also be focused on cleaning Cotton Park trails and beach. Youth Center will be maintaining a garden plot, community gardens, and be donating food gardens. It's great to see all these events that from top to bottom there. I mean, Dwayne and the staff do a fantastic job down in Cotton Park there with Youth Center. Of course, our courts and sports fields are open. Some will just put some additional notes pertaining to the fields and courts, including Pullman's multi-purpose field will be home to flag football programs from May to July. The lacrosse PI program will operate from August to October. 9-hole disc golf course will set up in Stratford Town Center. Just a curly up back here. Of course, we'll have the signage added that includes play instructions, rules, hole identifications. Tennis, pickleball, and multi-use courts are ready to go for the summer season. Windscreens will be added to both onside and inlet courts. Safety netting is here. System is being erected at Teal Park, provide park guests safe parking and accessible playground, and beach areas and slash our football players. At the end here, summer program reservations are now open. Some of the programs to introduction to sports 3-year-old group 4-5, introduction to sports operating this program twice a week to accommodate more participants, and under 4 soccer, and of course our summer camp is back in full swing. So everything's starting to pick up here in the month of June. And of course, we're going into July 1st here to celebrate our Canada Day with the CPHO restrictions. Went off pretty well last year with the motorcade, so on, very popular. The lights and siren, the fire trucks, police cars, and I encourage all businesses in Stratford to partake in this event with the vehicle, and for all business to entertain their sponsorship and so on. And of course, shoppers, Murphy's, different businesses, home hardware is a new business now. Encourage all people to participate in the parade itself. It was great to see people last year coming out the driveways waving, and it's proud to be a council for Stratford.
Counselor, is there a way to get the message out to the businesses? I know last year they didn't know that they should do that, so there's a way we could get it to them that they can participate with a quote in or a vehicle or whatever. With social media somehow.
Yeah, and Wendy, yeah, I know that's 2 problems with last year, but some of them were notified, and at the same time, it's pending staff, but some were notified. So
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, we sent out a direct e-news today to everyone that we have registered on our business e-news list. It's been posted in the Stratford Business Group, which is quite an active Facebook group, and there were some letters directly on there as well. So we do try to let everyone know as we do for anything, but not everyone sees everything all the time, but we can't necessarily control that. We do our best. But yeah, no, we're definitely reaching out.
I think too, a question I had was, because I was thinking, because an idea came through about like a parade of heroes, like kind of an ode to, and having some essential workers that got us through COVID. But in my question to Wendy, and she can go into it further, you can't have floats in this parade because we're crossing the highway. It has to be classified as motorcade for liability and insurance reasons, I think, Wendy, if I'm right. And so we can't have floats and it has to be inside a motor vehicle.
Yeah, everyone has to be within the confines of the vehicle itself.
And that's because we're crossing the Trans-Canada Highway.
It's an insurance thing,
It's
Jeremy.
an insurance.
It's insurance,
Yeah.
okay,
Rate of speed and,
yeah,
But we can put signs and flags and that sort of thing on the vehicles to inject some color and some humor into it, things like that. It is possible to make it interesting.
No, I'd just like to comment, it's a very busy time for our rec department. And I commend them, we have a fantastic rec department led by Jeremy Pierce. All the programs, getting them up and running, and I utilize a lot of the programs for children. So it is that time of year, they do it year after year, but it certainly doesn't go unnoticed, the job, the quality of the job that the rec department does. And another comment, just in regard to our rec departments and our numbers and how overwhelmed they really are. I have two boys in ball, T-ball, I guess we'll call it. I'm sure it's another name, but our home field is in Port Augustus for the boys. So it's highlighting our need to increase our capacity, whether in soccer fields or baseball fields or whatnot. And of course, that's no fault of the rec department. They do everything in their power to ensure that our kids can play these sports. But I wanted to highlight that I have to go to the rest of the course, Port Augustus to play ball with my kids. And again, certainly no fault of the rec department, but again, highlight a sense of urgency here in our community to expand our facilities, including ball, soccer, introduction of an ice pad, and other facilities that we're so in need of here in this community.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the fact that we don't have the recreational infrastructure to support the growing population is a real challenge for our council to look at, and for all residents to look at how we can get that infrastructure in place and work with provincial and federal government to make that happen. Because it's really important that we have the recreational, the educational, the health infrastructure, everything that we need to support a growing population of 11,000, moving to 15,000, maybe moving to 20,000. It's really grown very quickly, and it's something that it's hard to understand because we're newcomers on the block. People sort of forget that this population exists and that we really have a great need for infrastructure.
And it's great thing to see the council has a vision with this going moving forward with the purchase of more land and the 170 acres that we're moving forward. Everybody's around the table agree to that. And if you had a chance last week and to see Mr. McDonald's comments, the prophet, he made some good comments supporting the growing community that we have and so on and something. Now there's a gentleman that's in sports field for 30 or 40 some years. I want to say too about it. He's listened to me, but he stepped off and noticed that the town of Stratford, the residents and the children here, same as the school. We want to put our kids in Stratford, in the school, and same as the multiplex for sports. We want our kids in Stratford. This is what we're trying to go for. So that's all pause around table. It's looks at everybody around here that sees that purchase of 170 acres of land. That's a big thing.
Yeah, the interesting point about Fiddler is that he doesn't, he's not from Stratford, live in Stratford, but he's just one of those people in the island community that's well known and has opinions on various things. Some I agree with, some I don't. But he represents kind of the community chatter even outside of Stratford. And his position in that article was a little bit of disbelief that, wow, community this size not having these facilities, and it's starting to be noticed now. We've noticed it, we chat about it, but I think other people, even people that don't have an interest in Stratford, are really noticing it. And of course, people like Fiddler, who when he notices something and talks about it, he has a lot of ears, which is good.
I'd just like to make a comment in regards to not to ball, indoor soccer, but to the other sports. Many communities usually have different sports, and you have boys or girls playing 2 or 3 different sports. I don't think that's the case in Stratford. I'm thinking about cricket, talking about flag football, talking about lacrosse. These leagues are filled up with kids that are not even playing soccer or baseball. Well, that shows you the numbers that we have here in Stratford. And outside of Stratford, people traveling to Stratford to use the facilities. So that is the nice thing to say. And Jeremy, kudos to you and your staff for getting this stuff ready for them. One last thing I want to say, I drove around the other night, and the people using the trail systems, bicycling and walking of all ages and sizes, and kids going to school on their bicycles is outstanding. The transportation corridor is working well with this community.
I just wanted to, thing, and a big thing is, Jeremy, while we're sitting here tonight, I'm watching disc golfers go through, and I think that's pretty cool. That's a new addition to the town of Stratford. And so I think that's really neat. One other thing was last night I was at golf night at Fox Meadow, and I was blown away. This is outside the town realm, but they have over 120 ladies at ladies' night now, and they have 55 little girls, 6 to 14, golfing. So between the hours of 3 to 6:30 every Tuesday night, there's 200 girls and women on their golf course, which I think is fantastic because that wasn't there even a year ago. So that's another amenity within our town that our residents are making full use of as well.
Well, for the future. And just to add to that, golf course, there's, I think 50 to 70 on a waiting list, children, boys and girls waiting to get their turn to get on the golf course and get some instructions, I guess. So they're sold in. They're sold in.
So basically, we can keep that, just put it on there.
That's what we focus around the table. I see that Steve mentioned earlier in the cold area. I read that article. There's a girl, girls hockey is just growing immensely. Team sports is always, a big sport of team sports, and what they build inside and leadership and everything, qualities of the ability to beat people, contacts, everything else. It's just a nice story, and that's some of the stuff you want to follow over to behind us here with the 170 acres plan. Some of that, and even you're talking with young kids there, that's some of the stuff going to bring up, right? They're going to be the leaders of our community, right?
Okay, we have a resolution, Mr. Glenn.
This is number RC 001-2021, bylaw number 39, fees bylaw recreation, culture events, rate increases. I guess we talked about this in January, we as a group. Whereas the town of Stratford strives to foster environment, promotes creativity, boldness, and pursuit of excellence in recreation and cultural experiences, public access to those experiences. The municipality recognizes that recreation, culture, and events contribute to the quality of life of its citizens. Further, it understands that a strong environment, culture, environment promotes a shared sense of identity. Whereas the cost of providing liberties, respectful facilities, and amenities and programs have increased. Whereas recreation or arts programs shall see increase to $25 per session if once per week, $35 per session if twice per week, $45 per session if 3 times per week. Whereas summer camp increased to $145 per week and $1,200 for summer fee. Whereas summer recreation program shall increase to $65 per session, whereas the athlete levy will be equal. Yeah, allocated, there we go, $10 per athlete across all sports. And be it resolved, the revised schedule of fees by law number 39 be hereby approved. This resolution bears the recommendation of Recreation Council and Finance Committee at a meeting held on January 28, 2021. I'll make the motion for this. Okay, I'll move by myself. Yes, I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. Anybody have any comments or questions on this resolution?
I take it this is just a cost increase to maintain and to grow the sports within town as needed.
Maybe we could ask our recreation director to maybe explain some of the rationale and the background for this, just for the benefit of our people viewing online.
Sure, we went through the exercise and budget process to determine the appropriate rates for programs. There has been a rate increase for a while, but we simply don't increase rates for the sake of increasing rates. We've gone through the exercise of determining the cost of increase, not only for staff cost, for our materials and our products that we provide within all these programs. So with the increase that we've seen and experienced in the last couple of years, we thought it was appropriate to increase rates slightly. It's a $5 increase essentially for all our programs. And then in terms of the athlete levy, we had a disparity where some programs were seeing $5 rate for some kids and some were seeing a $10. Seeing that we were all using the same services and fields, facilities, whatever it may be. To be fair to everyone, it should be the same rate right across the board of $10.
So is it fair to say that this reflects increase in costs and inflation, and also the application of a fairness principle to make sure that users who are using an equivalent amount of recreational resources pay the equivalent amount?
Yeah, that's correct.
Jeremy, just before you leave there, is there consideration in our rates? I don't know if there is. I'm just gonna ask a question of like, multiple, if someone has 3 kids, if you're registering 1 kid in soccer or 3 kids in soccer, and the rate's the same, or is there consideration there or no?
Like a family rate, so
Like a family rate?
we don't have that currently, but that's probably something we can explore.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure.
And then I can comment, I was talking to Jeremy there on the phone, that we've been there for 3 years now, and the rates have increased also. This is the first time in 3 years, right?
That's my understanding that our rates are still very comparable, favorably comparable with surrounding communities, Sharptown, Cornwall.
Oh, yes. They're very cheap compared to other places.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Now we'll call for the vote on the resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you for your report, Councilor Glenn. Okay, we'll now move to finance and technology. Councilor McDonald, chair of that committee, to give a report.
Thank you, Richard. The report for the last month from the finance staff. So the staff is currently working on training in recreation planning in town suite. They're also reviewing the water supply and sewer treatment charges for new development. They're working on the insurance tender. They worked on this resolution coming forward tonight on the delegation of authority to the CAO. They are revamping the long-range forecast model and putting information into the new asset management module, reviewing records management requirements, and also doing cleanup of the file storage room to be room for files. So that's what they've been busy at. The Finance and Technology Committee monthly report is also in package from our meeting on May 18th. Any questions, I'll be glad to respond. Also, the financial statements for the town income and utility income are in your package. I also have a couple of resolutions with some questions.
Anything that you would like to highlight in terms of the income statements for the utility or the town?
I think we're pretty well on par there. we expect to be. The revenue is down 3%, expenses are down 6.5% this time. That's for the town. So, if there's any questions, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the report? Please proceed with the presentation.
Okay, I have resolution number FT 0008-2021, Stratford Seniors Complex Furniture Fund. Whereas a request was received from the Stratford Seniors Complex for funding towards furniture for their common area room for the tenants of the building to use. And whereas due to COVID restrictions, the Stratford Seniors Complex has been unable to do fundraising activities, they are asking the town of Stratford to donate $600 for the purchase of this new furniture. Be it resolved that $600 be donated to the Stratford Seniors Complex for the purchase of furniture for the common area room. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Finance and Technology Committee as discussed at the meeting held on February 16, 2021. So,
The seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Comments, questions? Okay, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
the second resolution, FT 009-2021, MGA Section 156.5, authority to the CAO. Whereas the Municipal Government Act, MGA, requires the mayor and the CAO to sign all contracts and agreements. And whereas based on MGA Act Section 156.5, Council may, by resolution, authorize the Chief Administrative Officer alone to sign contracts and agreements if the value of the contract or agreement does not exceed $25,000, and the Chief Administrative Officer, CAO, tables a written summary of the nature and value of the contract or agreement at the next meeting of Council. And whereas there are many agreements for small matters that in theory are to be signed by the mayor and CAO, that from an operational standpoint, it would be more efficient for the CAO to be able to sign those contracts and agreements that are under $25,000 and keep a list to present to Council each month. And whereas the CAO and staff are familiar with the agreements and have a background in managing those files on behalf of the municipality, the CAO should be given the authority to sign on contracts and agreements not exceeding $25,000 as part of the day-to-day running of the organization. Be it resolved that the CAO be given authorization, as per section 156.5 of the MGA, to sign alone contracts and agreements not exceeding $25,000, subject to the requirement, will submit a written summary of the nature and value of the contract at the next meeting of the Council. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Finance and Technology Committee as discussed at a meeting held on May 18, 2021.
Go to seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, comments, questions? Anything you'd like to highlight?
So it requires a resolution of Council to make this change, and that's allowed in the MGA, that the CAO can't do it unless Council approves this particular resolution.
Which is very cumbersome. It's a sort of thing where you have the time lag and it's not responsive to.
That's correct. Yeah. And any further details, finance perhaps.
Good.
Great, thank you.
That's correct. It's just to make it more efficient, running the organization for the CAO to be able to sign contracts less than 25,000. Council would still be given a list at the next council meeting of what those contracts were. But internally, we would be more familiar with them, and then we don't have to keep calling the mayor to come in and sign small agreements.
Yeah, and I think based on my experience with the kind of things that are, most of them are paying for contracts that have already been agreed upon and paying invoices and that sort of thing, where it's not initiating a new expenditure or whatever. So it's,
That's correct.
It's the day-to-day routine running of the operations of the town, which right now is a bit of a more This will streamline things a bit, make things work more efficiently.
Yeah, that's correct. So we also have a procurement policy that we have to follow, and everything that's in the procurement policy is based on what was asked in the budget. So there's kind of one or two different points that we're following processes along the way. It's just to streamline the operations.
Anybody have any other questions or comments?
Well, it's my understanding though that as far as the actual check, it was going to be signed by two parties, management.
Yes, none of that has changed. It's still, checks are still signed by an external person in the organization, meaning council. The mayor or a couple other signing authorities from council. And internally it's signed by the CEO, WCAO or yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just across the board with the MTA, but probably why isn't it these conditions? Or just here only?
I'm not sure if you.
Yeah, the MGA is for all municipalities to follow, and it's up to each municipality to do a resolution if they want to incorporate that section. 156.5. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried.
That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your report. Okay, we'll now move to planning, development, and heritage. Ask Councillor Jill Burbidge to give the report. Chairs the planning, development, heritage committee.
Yeah, our report from last meeting held on the 1st of May is in there. I do have a number of resolutions here tonight, and most of those resolutions will speak to what was covered in that report. One thing I'd highlight is one of our resolutions pertains to a community campus proposed amendments. We weren't able to start that rezoning conversation at the planning meeting because it was to be effective June 1st. So at the planning meeting, there was no discussion on the community campus proposed amendments resolution. That's only because we couldn't start that conversation technically at that time. It was, the annexation was effective June 1st, so we couldn't start those conversations prior to that. And that's why you will see any discussion at the meeting. If there's any other questions on the report, feel free to fire away.
Just in terms of the minutes, I was also at the meeting. I started late, but I was also present.
Yes, okay, we'll add that. If there's no questions on that, I'll move over to the permit summary. Staff in the planning and development department are extremely busy right now. They are communicating that, for people to get their paperwork, complete paperwork in these days, in order to try to keep turnarounds there, but they are extremely busy. The turnaround time may be a little bit prolonged right now, but they're doing their best to keep things shut in. Yeah, May is a busy month. If there's any questions on any of this, there was a typo on the building permit summary on the last page. Top right corner box is supposed to say May 1st, 2020, not 2020. Does that confuse anybody? But outside that, it's fairly, I think all your information's there. Any questions?
I have one question. There's not so much regards to the numbers here, but on the business end of the buildings, it's pretty steady for the town. And there's lots of firms, new businesses.
Yeah, day to day, Kevin is the best guy to answer that. What's coming in?
Sorry, I'm trying to get the projector working.
Commercial permits.
All the numbers are there in the report. I mean, if you drive up and down the Trans-Canada Highway, I think you'll see there's a lot of commercial activity, more commercial activity than we're used to for the years. We've been up to see the commercial projects underway.
So yeah, you can see in you know, year to date, 2021, commercial is, you know, $2 million.
And these buildings are being built not on speculation, but on demand, like present demand for office space. They're just not building on how much.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll dive into these resolutions. To C. Resolution PH 009/2021. PA 002-21, Greg McDougal lot size and lot frontage variance requests. So I'll bring that up, sorry. Yeah, number PH 009/2021, BA 002/21, Greg McDougal, lot size and lot frontage variance request 16 Barclay Avenue. Whereas an application has been received from Greg McDougal for a lot size and lot frontage variance to parcel number 328609 located at 16 Barclay Avenue for the purpose of constructing a 2-unit semi-detached dwelling. And whereas the lot size variance request is for 2,168 square feet or 22% for a 2-unit semi-detached dwelling located within the medium density residential zone R2. The applicant is seeking a lot size variance from 9,800 square feet to 7,632 square feet. And whereas the minimum lot frontage variance request is for 10 feet or 10% for a 2-unit semi-detached dwelling located within the medium density residential zone R2, the applicant is seeking a lot frontage variance from 100 feet to 90 feet. Whereas pursuant to section 611, council may authorize variances in excess of 10% from the provisions of the bylaw if council deems such a variance is desirable and appropriate, and if such a variance is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the bylaw. And whereas on May 14th, 2021, 16 notification letters were sent to property owners who own parcels of land which are located in whole or in part within 60 meters to 200 feet from any lot line of the parcel being proposed for variance. One written comment was received after the deadline in opposition of the 2 variance requests. And be it resolved that council grant approval to an application received from Greg McDougal for lot size variance of 2,168 square feet or 22% for a 2-unit semi-detached dwelling on parcel number 328609 located at 16 Barclay Avenue within the medium density residential zone R2. Be it further resolved that council grant approval to an application received from Greg McDougal for a minimum lot frontage variance request of 10 feet or 10% for a 2-unit semi-detached dwelling on parcel number 328609 located at 16 Barclay Avenue, located within the medium density residential zone R2. This resolution does bear the recommendation of Planning Development Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on May 31st, 2021. So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. You want to,
I'll turn it over to Kevin to walk everyone through this. He does a good job of explaining.
The first question I have, I noticed that we have a 22% vote for variance and another 10% on the bottom paragraph. Does that add up to 32 or is that up to 22?
Two separate variances. One is on the lot size, 22%, and the other is on the lot frontage, 10%.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the screen, I have a proposed site plan showing how the semi-detached would fit on the lot and still meet the side yard requirements. One item that became a discussion point at the planning board is the side yard setbacks for a semi-detached unit are 12 feet, and the side yard setbacks for a single dwelling are 8 feet. So semi-detached is actually required further away from any adjacent property owners than single dwellings. There was a concern sent in that we did add to the planning board package. It was past the deadline, but we thought it was best to ensure that it was there. So there was discussions on or concerns raised about if the lot was sized for a single dwelling, should it just be left at that? Other concerns were around traffic. So I always don't like to delve into traffic information as I do not get specialties in traffic. So I reached out to the Department of Transportation Infrastructure, and got some information from them, and I'll read it into the record here. So the difference between a single detached home, in accordance with the Transportation Association of Canada manual, it estimates that a single family detached home will generate an average of 9.57 trips per day on a weekday. And for a townhouse, it gives an average of 5.81 trip generations per dwelling unit on a weekday. So this would equate to 11.62 trips for a 2-unit building versus 9.57 trips.
Over what time period?
For me,
Over what time period?
per day. They're on a weekday. They don't need the AM and the PM peaks. This is the entire. And then I get another subsequent email from the actual draft engineer later. It would be the addition essentially of sorry, I don't have a copy of it here. I believe he had said it's a 2% increase for traffic on that local street. You can feel that he felt that would be negligible. So just want to ensure that we have that information there in the file. It was discussed at planning board. Not sure if anybody has any additional questions.
The other thing that came up with planning was whether or not there were other semi-detached dwellings within the area. So are you changing the character of the neighborhood? And Kevin went through and we identified at least 2 Kevin on that street. So it kind of tells us that, you know, there is existing semi-detached dwellings on this street.
There's a 3-unit townhouse as you enter off of Stratford Road, a 2-unit here, 2-unit here, 2-unit here, and another 2-unit that's just been issued that we actually, and I forgot, slipped my mind, but we did discuss at planning board, and I can't remember percentage of variance. I think it might be 26%.
Yeah.
Minutes.
Yeah.
That have happened at property 26 Berkeley Avenue, and that was for 270 as well. So there is the precedent has been established on the street, and there are semis. This is an R2 zone, so there are semis allowed within the allowable number of semis. They're allowed on the street. The question here is this lot size sufficient with this proposed variance to have a 2-unit semi-detached dwelling? Essentially, is the question.
Yes, I have some concerns, and once again, we have an individual buying a single family lot and turn it into a duplex. I'm not sure when you buy a lot as a single family, if there's a different price. If you sold duplex, would the price be higher for that lot? I'm not sure. But I think this is way too much the variance on that property. If you look at it, it just crowds that property to no end. So like I say, we have an individual very comfortable buying a lot, single family lot, making it a double. I don't support this resolution.
Any other comments or questions on this resolution? Okay, with that, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Those against? Okay, motion carried. Okay, you have another resolution, Councilor Burridge?
Yeah, I'll just wait for.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Don to make it up.
Councilor Don was back. Actually, this is the room. You went that way.
Should I start reading it in?
Pardon?
Should I start reading it in today?
I think it's okay to start reading it in. I'm not sure what the rules,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
I'll start it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number PH 010-2021, RZ 00121 Red Meadows zoning request, R1 approved, Stratford Road. Whereas an application has been received from Red Meadows to rezone parcel numbers 106-1175, 106-1167, and 329-00011, approximately 14.01 acres in total from the low density residential zone R1 to planned unit residential development zone PURD. And whereas a detailed rezoning concept plan has been prepared by Rob LeBlanc of Fathom Studios, and whereas an updated traffic impact study has been conducted, and whereas pursuant to the Provincial Planning Act and Section 3 of the Town of Stratford zoning development bylaw, council must hold a public meeting to receive comments from the public on a proposed application. Be it resolved that a public meeting be scheduled to solicit input from residents on an application to rezone parcel numbers 106-1175, 106-1167, and 329-011, approximately 14.01 acres in total from a low density residential zone R1 planned unit residential development zone occurred on June 23rd, 2021. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning Development and Heritage Committee as discussed in a meeting held on May 31st, 2021. So moved.
To a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion.
So I'll just briefly before I hand it over to Kevin, I'll just set up that this is a resolution to send this to public consultation only at this point. And actually the next two resolutions are the same, and then to preface the next three to say these are all about public consultation only at this point. But this is Red Meadows coming back again with a new a redesign, taking into account, or I feel the planning board felt that it has taken into account a lot of the comments that were received in the last round. All the traffic, and Kevin, I'm going to hand it to Kevin, but a lot of the traffic now has been redirected, which was a big concern in the last application. So with that, Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
I think everybody's familiar with the site for sure. The new proposed development schemes on the screen. So just to quickly highlight a few of the changes in this application versus the one that was proposed last year. On the previous plan, there were 58 units that were going to be serviced through Red Heights and 18 off of the Stratford Road. This new plan is kind of flipping that. So there will now be only 11 units accessed off of Red Heights and 73 units accessed off of Stratford Road. Parkland dedication has been reduced. It was 4.7 acres in the plan last year, and there is 2.1 acres in the plan this year. So this plan is crossing the swale. You can see my laser pointer there. It is crossing the swale, coming down the Stratford Road. So there is they're calling this is an active transportation connection, but they're calling it a emergency fire access if it was felt there needed to be a second access. Based on regulation, it does not need to be a second access unless you're above 100 units in any individual road access. But if there was an event that blocked that roadway coming in, the emergency vehicles could be a crash gate. They could use that active transportation connection as a secondary access point. I think that was one of the things that we mentioned last year that was of concern. So they're still proposing the single lots here that are backing up along the Millennium Drive. There's less lots backing up along here now than there was in the original plan. They're all the numbers in front of me, but I know there's 9 backing up now. I think it was 14 backing along Millennium Drive in the previous concept. They still do have narrower frontages, but because they're positioned around cul-de-sacs, the backyards fan out. They're quite wide compared to what the original plan was. So there's definitely items here I think that people will have questions on and whatnot, but it is a new application, and I believe the developer is trying to revise the plan to listen to the comments and concerns that were raised last year. So that's the current proposal. Any questions?
Just a question there on the ones going over on the Stratford Road there.
Yes,
The parking lots from the front and the back. Is that-
they're townhouses.
Yeah,
All townhouse lots.
you can't reverse it to the back. I'm just looking at it there. I think it would perhaps look a little better.
It's quite common. I don't know. No, I don't know. I expect there is, but I don't know. I mean, it's quite common that townhouses have the driveways in front of them. Most of the ones we just recently approved, they were all the same way.
I guess my thought is just going in there with not much cars. whatever it is. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I have a few questions. The traffic impact study is quite lengthy. I think the developers are going to cut back on that as much as possible. It's 65 pages long now, I think. We can put a Reader's Digest version into the meeting. It would probably help.
There is an executive summary that's only 2 pages long.
Okay,
It summarizes the findings. That's usually what I skip to.
The meeting is going to be held where?
At the emergency services building again.
And how many people can attend?
I don't have the latest numbers, based on the numbers changing, but we're basing it on 50, which is what we were approved for last year. So there will be, with other resolutions that are here tonight, there will be multiple agenda items on that night. And we will be asking people to sign up, register, if they want to attend in person. But we will have a film crew in it. It will be videoed and it will be posted live, and there will be time after the public meeting given for people to provide comments or to be able to watch the recorded meeting if they don't have the ability to watch it live.
Okay, and last time we had a meeting, we had a couple of meetings at the same time. The timeline was a little tight for some people. I think we're gonna.
We had some discussion on that, and we're giving an hour and a half to this particular item. So we feel that is sufficient. If it runs a little long, the ones that will come after it are all grouped together. So we're saying we're going to have one item that's starting at 6 o'clock. It's one of the resolutions that will be right here next. We're only giving a half hour for it. We feel it's a little more minor. Probably won't be as many. Won't be people wanting to necessarily attend in person. And then the second round will start at 6:30. We'll run until 8 o'clock. If it finishes early, we will not start the third round until 8 o'clock, but if it runs late, then we will delay other people being able to enter the room for the other applications, but better to run late and just keep people delayed than start early and people miss it. So we've talked a lot about the logistics, and we feel, based on still being in a pandemic and having the video crew in and having it recorded and having opportunity for people to provide comments for a week after the meeting, we feel we're giving more than adequate opportunity for people to provide it.
So the 23rd of June this year.
23rd.
Everybody's gonna feel better with the plan drawings.
Yes.
Okay, so, and then they sign up then, or can they sign up right now? It's probably a sign up period.
There is a sign up period. It's on the letters that are drafted.
All right, so they'll receive a letter, plan drawings. Okay, good. And these lots, is the developer going to develop the land and sell the lots, or is he going to?
I don't know.
You don't know the answer. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll
I'm
proceed.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So Kevin, how are you going to cross that active transportation trail? The stop signs on the trail?
One thing that was discussed, there could potentially be a speed table designed into the design. If you were familiar with the speed table that was on Marion Drive, there was a crosswalk on Marion Drive. There's now an intersection further away that was up to McKinnon Drive, the roundabout of McKinnon Drive. So there could potentially be a speed table. It's a wider speed bump that has the crosswalk on the surface of it, so people will have to slow down to cross it. Makes the crosswalk more visible. We're hoping that we potentially design something like that into it. It's really the reason that when the planning board discussed this almost 2 years ago now, we favored the design for not crossing the active transportation. corridor. We wanted to protect that from a planning perspective. But in doing that, that diverts the majority of the traffic through the existing subdivision of the Heights. And I think that was one of the reasons that it wasn't supported. So
are there more townhouses in this plan than our previous plan?
there's more units in total. I don't have the breakout to compare them, but yes, there's more units in total in this plan.
I think there's 86 units in this plan.
86 total?
Total.
This one's 79.
It was
80
76.
84 in this one, 76.
76, okay.
And so if this resolution passes tonight, when will the residents be notified?
The letters will go out before they're drafted.
This
Yeah.
sometimes mail takes a week to get to the residents, and with the corporate or the neighborhood mailboxes, you know, your mail not coming to your house anymore, sort of thing. People don't tend to get the mail daily, sort of thing. So it's important that we get these letters out as soon as possible, and perhaps get it on our webpage.
It will.
Ensure that people in this affected area are well aware.
I'm sure once one knows, they'll.
Well, so is there signage back up on the rock again, or?
They can't be posted until the resolution goes.
I realize, I'm
They're
sorry.
ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
More resolutions?
Excuse me.
Number PH 011 2021, BA 002-21, Leslie Hilton, home occupation, text amendment request. Whereas an application has been received from Leslie Hilton of 53 Marion Drive for an amendment to the Town Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 to allow for a home occupation in a semi-detached dwelling. Currently, a home occupation is only allowed in a single dwelling. Whereas Ms. Hilton has filed a formal request for decision to council to consider amending the bylaw to allow for this type of use within a semi-detached dwelling. And whereas pursuant to the Provincial Planning Act, Section 3 of the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, council must hold a public meeting in order to receive comments from the public on the proposed application. Be it resolved that a public meeting be scheduled to solicit input from residents on the application that has been received from Leslie Hilton of 53 Marion Drive, for an amendment to the Town Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 to allow for a home occupation in a semi-detached dwelling to be held on June 23rd, 2021. Resolution bears recommendation from the Planning Development and Heritage Committee as discussed in the meeting held on May 31st, 2021. So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion?
So again, this is to go to public consultation to discuss opening, get feedback on allowing a home occupation in a semi-detached dwelling.
So in this case, who gets notified of the public meeting?
So the whole town will get notified of this public meeting. It's not specific to a location.
Exactly. So via newspaper,
It will be in the
letter,
newspaper, sure.
this concerns every duplex owner in Stratford.
Not only the duplex owners, it concerns all the neighbors that are around.
Exactly.
So it goes in the newspaper, Kevin?
Goes in the newspaper, goes on our social media. We talked about the specifics of the actual amendment itself and ensuring that the description is clear, so people clearly understand what is being proposed here. We're only dealing with what the application is for. It was a bit of a broader discussion started to discuss the planning board about, should we be looking at townhouses and apartments for home occupations as well? We think that is worth looking at, but that's going to require significant amount of research, and we proposed to planning board that we would potentially defer that to our next full bylaw review, or possibly do it at a time when we have resources to be able to research it. So the current application is only to put them into semi-units, two unit semi-detached buildings. They have the ability, because they have each
two-unit semi-detached building has a side yard. So we feel it's easier for them to accommodate the additional parking that's required for home occupation versus if you're in an interior unit in a townhouse, you don't have the additional side yard. So having that additional parking spot could become questionable. And then when you're into an apartment building, then it's kind of a whole different aspect altogether. You have to have, you know, parking within the parking lot. So we would prefer from a planning perspective to keep it to what the application is proposed for. If we want to have a bigger discussion on that in the future for townhouses or for apartments, then we can do that in the future study.
So will all home occupations be included in this?
Yes. Yes.
Or
Anything that's
tattoo shops?
I think that that's part of that conversation, right? The scope of what a semi-detached would carry. It wouldn't necessarily carry exactly what you could have in a single family dwelling. Is that not part of this conversation?
It can be part of the conversation, but you know, we would not propose to have two different categories. But I mean, if they are, like currently hairdressing shops and stuff like that are allowed in full occupations in single family homes now.
But you also have childcare as well, right? Which
Childcare is zoned separately, so
that's a special, that's.
What was that, Jim?
they're allowed based on their size in different zones. They're not a home occupation per se, they're actually, so there's there's childcare facilities, there's neighborhood childcare, and you know, each one as they're defined allows you to have different number of children, and most of them fall in conditional or special permit uses within neighborhoods. So they require council or possibly a public.
Okay, so that would, I was thinking that.
No, they're not all grouped into a home occupation. I can read the bylaw section and tell you what exactly is allowed in it.
Or would be restricted by the building site and it is public land use, which is require more parking and more space. And we will be restricted by that.
So following types of occupations or businesses shall be permitted in home occupation. This is what's currently allowed in the bylaw now, which is only allowed in a detached dwelling. Professional offices, occupations and businesses that create and or offer the sale of arts and crafts, weaving, painting, and sculptures. Occupations and businesses that repair garden or household ornaments, personal effects, clothing or toys. Hairdressing salons, barbershops, photographic studios. Any ones that we've ever had come in the past that are not clearly within this list and we are questioning on, we've always brought them through planning board council to ask for their determination of whether they feel they fit that category. When you make a list is never all inclusive. So you know, if they generally fit within that, then we're unsure from staff level, we can planning board council for their consideration.
Our folks still saying that the request that you're.
Everything has to meet national building code, 2015 national building code, so regardless if it's an attached building or not, still has to meet the same code.
So a brief history of this, this applicant made this request basically because of COVID, something that we've never foreseen. And the applicant has taken the steps to identify for their own selves the reason behind this, but they have also identified a problem within the town of Stratford in regards to duplexes. So the request is going to be looked after the one, but the answer is going to be for every duplex within the town of Stratford. So I acknowledge them for bringing this through whatever means they job, bringing this to our means to be looked at for duplexes within the town of Stratford. I think it's necessary for us to do it. So, thank you.
How much time is allocated for this part of the public meeting?
30 minutes.
So, to your question, The request that's the unanimous resolution is it already in place in Charlottetown as a resolution? I don't know.
I believe it is, I believe it is. And I believe, we've looked at quite a number of them, I just can't remember Charlotte.
I'm pretty sure.
I believe they are, but they're not permitted in townhouse or.
Yeah, they allowed it to
Yeah.
be semi-detached and stuff.
Yeah.
So was that be something we look into before the meeting, just to see how that is working?
Sure. Without studying it, you know, I mean, I don't know how, I don't know how you know that answer. I can ask the staff there. But it's,
See, it was made in place.
I can ask-
I just think personally, we've been criticized last time, the timeframes of these meetings, with Reading and this come up here now and now involvement, I think the time, I know I wouldn't be too happy about the residents. I know this, second issue here, we're looking at now is pertaining to, all of the town, not just one area. So it's for 50, I guess you're allowed 50, but, you know, some people want a minute. So we're only allowed half an hour. You know, I think the last one was pushed through. It's my opinion. Not pushed through, but I mean, time, there's complaints from different people, you know. We just gotta give her, we gotta give her residents time to speak. Sometimes the presentation takes a long time. Yeah. The presentation can take an hour sometimes. Yeah.
There would be no presentation on this one.
There's the opportunity for a presentation. Yes.
Okay.
Typically, don't get many.
Robert, can you use the mic?
General.
Thanks, Gil.
We don't typically get that many people show up for the meeting when they don't get a letter. It's in the paper and we advertise it in social media and try to get the word out, but that's why we didn't allow very much time. Our experience has been in the past, that we get very little response when it's a general meeting like this.
And maybe just to clarify, we're not cutting anything off.
Yeah.
We're just saying none of the other items will start before the allotted times. If this takes an hour, well, then the next one will start half an hour. We're not cutting anybody off. No.
If we could have even, Wendy, like, as we go through the evening, like, a notification or something, that this is starting now, on social media or something, I don't know. I don't know how you can do that, but if these things do start going wonky with the schedule, I don't know.
I think we got a lot of comments from people when we had the last meeting with the opportunity to watch live, watch a recorded meeting, or have 7 days after the meeting to submit their comments. I think we're, you know, we are in a pandemic. Ultimately, we'd like to be able to invite everybody into a room, and we don't have to worry about that. But I think adding video streams to public meetings like this have really changed the way people will participate in public meetings in the future. I think that's allowed a lot of flexibility. But yes, we still are allowing up to 50 people to pre-register and attend in person. So, you know, I don't want anybody to feel just because we have proposed timelines in the ad that we're putting out, in the letters that we're putting out. We don't want anybody to get the idea that we're going to cut you off. If people that still want to talk, comments, just as we did at the last meeting. We went way over our time frame between the first item and the second item. But we allowed everybody an opportunity to speak, and we were very clear to say that we're giving them 7 days after the meeting to submit their comments. So I think we're being as flexible as we can. I don't know if there is a perfect way to do this and be able to anticipate if it will go longer than 30 minutes or not. If it does, we will allow them to continue on and we'll announce when we're starting the next portion of the meeting. But logistically, there's a lot to plan around these things, and we're trying to group them together because there's a lot of logistics and a lot of cost involved in having a meeting of this caliber.
Okay, just to be clear, we're voting on whether or not to allow a public meeting on this issue, on this proposed bylaw amendment. Any other comments and questions? If not, I'll call for the vote. I'm sorry,
Okay, I'll now call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Those against? Motion carried.
Okay, last one. Okay, number PH 012-2021 Community Campus Proposed Amendments. Whereas applications have been received from SJ Murphy Planning and Consulting on behalf of the town of Stratford, Ian Dalton 101523 PEI Inc., Paul and Robert Ferguson and Jane Ferguson and Doug Crossman for amendments to the town of Stratford official plan and the zoning and development bylaw number 45. Whereas the proposed amendments will allow for development of the proposed community campus, future residential development, as well as additional industrial development adjacent to the business park. Whereas some of the subject area was previously located within town boundaries, resulting in a request for changes in designation and zoning for those portions, while other portions have recently been annexed into the town, requiring the process to assign new designations and new zoning. Whereas the requested changes related to the community campus properties also necessitate a minor textual amendment to both the official plan and bylaw to accommodate the potential range of proposed uses, including restaurants and lounges as secondary uses in public service institutional zone. And whereas the details of the proposed amendments are as follows, the attached map is for clarity. Portion of PID number 608141, parcel 1, middle yellow section, redesignation and rezoning. The section involves a request to be redesignated as institutional and rezoned as PSI, public service institutional. It is currently designated agricultural and zoned agricultural reserve A1. It is associated with the proposed community campus. Portion of PID 608141, parcel 2, bright yellow section, new designation and new zoning. This section is to be designated as institutional and zoned public service institutional. This portion of PID number 608141 has been annexed into the town and is associated with the proposed community campus. Portion PID number 608141, parcel 3, dark gray, new designation and new zoning. This section is to be designated as industrial and zoned as M1. Industrial is a portion of PID number 608141 that has been annexed into the town. The lower sections of PID 101 or 1086107 and 608141 shown together as light gray would retain the existing industrial designation and M1 zoning. This abuts an existing M1 zone and will be part of an expansion of the industrial area. Portion of PID number 1086107, parcel 4, left yellow section, redesignation and rezoning. This portion is to be redesignated as institutional and rezoned public service institutional. It is currently designated agricultural and zoned as agricultural reserve A1. It is associated with the proposed community campus. Portions of 608141, parcel 5, dark green, new designation, new zoning. This portion of PID 608141 to be designated as residential and zoned R1, low density residential to permit future residential development. This portion of PID 608141 has been annexed into the town. Portion of PID 1086107, parcel 6, dark green, and PID 190041, parcel 7, light green, redesignation and rezoning. This portion of PID 1086107 and all of PID 190041 to be redesignated as residential and rezoned R1, low density residential to permit future residential development on PID 1086107. There is an existing dwelling on PID 190041. PID 814095, orange, new designation, new zoning. This parcel will be designated as residential and zoned R1, low density residential. It has been annexed into the town and has an existing residential structure on it. Subsection 729 of the official plan to be amended to include a new clause, permit restaurants and lounges and other ancillary uses associated with recreation and institutional uses. Section 17.3 of the development bylaw to be amended to include 7 restaurants and lounges accessory to the main use in the list of permitted uses in subsection 17.3.2, and whereas a detailed traffic impact study is being conducted, and whereas pursuant to the Provincial Planning Act and Section 3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw, Council must hold a public meeting to receive comments from the public on the proposed application. Be it resolved that a public meeting be scheduled to solicit input from residents on applications received from SG Murphy Planning and Consulting on behalf of the Town of Stratford. Ian Dalton 101523 PEI, Paul and Robert Ferguson and Jane Ferguson and Doug Crossman for amendments to the Town of Stratford official plan and the zoning and development bylaw number 45 to be held on June 23rd, 2021. So moved.
Seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion.
On the last paragraph, section 17.3, the way it was read, it includes 7 restaurants and lounges. I think includes part 6, restaurants and lounges. It sounded like there were going to be 7 restaurants there. The way it was read,
7 common,
it's
yeah.
not 7 restaurants, it's
No,
restaurants.
yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Any other comments or questions? This is to rezone the property that we purchased to allow residential development around the new school and the recreational area complex. Any other comments or questions?
So this particular resolution is just for the public meeting.
This is a public meeting,
Absolutely.
yes, that's right.
So back to this council to discuss on this later after the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's just was input from residents.
Just for a public.
One thing I'd like to add, based on the email I got from the consultant today. So when the annexation process took place for portions of these lands to be annexed into the town, we're dealing with a special planning area that has separate legislation through the province that requires to be amended as well. The province has been working on that, and we're hoping that that was all going to be done prior to this. We're still unsure on the timing if the special planning area is going to be amended before we are ready to make motion on whether we'll move these rezonings or not. So I may suggest that we add a paragraph back into this resolution that was committed with the idea we thought would be done. So it's just a potential that we have to consider. The official plan may also require amendments to create policies for the 2 recently annexed properties about limiting unserviced development and protecting agricultural resource lands outside of the town by promoting the development of serviced, more compact development within the town boundaries. So that is the wording we want people to understand, that if the SPA is not amended, that we will put policies within our official plan to ensure that we're not promoting the development of agricultural land against the town's border, but we're promoting service land, more compact service land within the town. So if it's okay, move it sector, I think that should be added back into the resolution. If we don't require it when it comes time to do the actual motions, we will have it removed. But we'd like to put it in notice that it is something that we are considering.
Okay, does a member of council want to move that? And we'll ask the mover and seconder if they're okay with it.
I think someone else has to move it. Or do I move it? Can I move that? Yeah, so I accept that amendment. Is that what I want? The amendment?
Yeah, I'll, somebody move the.
I'll move it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, we've got a friendly amendment that's been moved and seconded. Is it okay with the mover and seconder? Okay, so that's now part of the motion.
Did you call for the vote?
I'm going to call for the vote in a second. So what we're voting on here is a public meeting to sorry.
No, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll call for the vote on the amendment first of all. So all those in favor of adding the amendment to the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. So we now have the friendly amendment added to the original motion. So now, unless there are any other discussion, we'll now move to the vote on the public meeting for the rezoning. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you for your report, for all that reading. There's a lot of reading there. Thanks a lot. Okay, we'll now move to committee of the whole. And I believe there's a resolution. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Flo to read those resolutions. Is that within the purview of, who is this? Actually, it's within the purview of the Accountability and engagement, I'll ask my deputy chair on that committee to read the resolutions. Councilor Don.
Resolution number CW 007-2021, time change for council meetings and committee of the whole meetings for summer months. Whereas it is the practice of the town to hold council meetings and committee of the whole meetings earlier during the summer months, be it resolved the town council meetings and committee of the whole meetings for the month of July, August, and September be held at 4 p.m. Regular meeting hours will resume in October. So moved.
Seconder. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. There's another resolution there as well.
Certainly. Resolution number CW 008-2021, electronic voting for the next municipal election. Whereas Elections PEI conducts the municipal election on behalf of Charlottetown, Summerside, Stratford, Three Rivers, and Cornwall. And whereas the municipalities are interested in including the online voting option in order to increase voter options and turnout, particularly among the younger voters who have not been as engaged historically. And whereas the number of advanced polls was 3 in the last municipal election, which can be reduced because all electors will have an electronic voting option, be it resolved that the next municipal election, to be held in the fall of 2022, include an electronic voting option and 2 advanced poll days. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole from a meeting held on April 21st, 2021. So moved.
Seconder. Thank you. Okay, discussion. Any discussion on this motion? Any comments or questions?
Where it says the whereas third line, from 3 days advance voting to be reduced, it doesn't give a number to the number of reduced advance polls.
It's in the be it resolved line.
Yeah, it says 2 advanced poll days.
Okay, thank you. Covered off.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll ask for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Okay, we'll now move to infrastructure, Deputy Mayor Flo.
Minutes in your package, you may 17th meeting. Some questions about that. In the infrastructure memo here today. The wastewater delivery system, Charlotte Pollution Control Plant, results of the testing of the sludge itself, as well as the CO2 bags have come back from the laboratory. The Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action has informed us that the material meets with their classification of exceptional quality. This means there are less restrictions when considering options for disposal of the material. Staff are in discussion with the local farmer who has shown interest in the biosolid material. Once the plans are finalized for its removal, the contractor will return to the site to complete the decommissioning of the remaining infrastructure on the site and the infill of the room itself. Inflow infiltration reduction strategy. We continue to monitor and assess the sanitary sewer collection system to identify any areas requiring repair that will reduce the amount of surface and groundwater entering the collection system. The utility department are reviewing options for pipe replacements work to be completed this year. They are considering using a trenchless technology for the repair called pure in place pipe lining. The work is essential, completed by assessing the pipe through the manhole and therefore minimizing inconvenience and disruption to the traveling public. Investing in Canada sewer lift station upgrades. The department is working through options with codes to determine what the first phase of the work will entail. Consideration is being given to either replace the station as phase 1 or begin installing new floor mains to redirect the flow to the trunk main as phased. The department has made the decision to proceed with the floor main installation as phase 1 and then given direction to the consultant to proceed with the final design. The water station upgrades, the contractor has completed the upgrades to wells and pipe work and is working on chlorination and sampling of the work to ensure no bacteria is present before the station is put back into operation. 6 applications have been submitted for funding this year, and they're being looked at by the infrastructure secretariat. We have been asked for some questions on 3 of the applications, but there's been no indication yet on whether any of our submissions are being recommended for approval. Provincial Active Transportation Fund, Landmark, who prepared to begin construction on the Kepic Road multi-purpose path project this month. However, there are very well-aligned cables within the project limits that need to be protected and that may cause delays. The solution is being worked out with Belline. Construction will begin as soon as possible afterwards. Staff have been busy with working on trails and preparing sports fields, grass cutting, landscape repairs, bylaw complaints investigations. 10 sets of speed humps have been installed and more have been ordered. Store pump station cleaning, water valve exercise is underway, and repairs of misaligned or broken water valve boxes is near complete. There were no major issues with our water distribution or wastewater collection system in the month of May. The horticulturist positions have been filled. We are pleased to have Heidi Wood join the infrastructure department. She has begun working with the town this week. This is a 34-week permanent part-time position. We are also pleased to have our assistant gardener, Rosemary Label, back with us for another season. That's my report, Your Worship. Sure, there's some questions.
Any questions on Deputy Mayor Clo's report?
What are the calls this year in regards to snow? Is there no more calls coming in?
I have, the other councilors received any?
I haven't myself personally. I did smell a little bit going by, but that's the end, the result at the end.
As Jeremy said, we haven't been receiving many calls, although I did have one today. A resident from the Shorefront apartment building called to relay the message that he's been noticing some odors. I just went over the process with him. He also noticed how there hasn't been much activity on the site in the last few weeks. So I just went over and explained what we're going through, waiting for testing, and how we're anticipating to move forward very quickly. He was very understanding and understood, and seemed to ease his mind with that. So other than that, I have not heard of any complaints.
So far less time this year on the phone than previous years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, things quite a change from this time last year, so. Yeah.
And it started to look good down there. They were laying asphalt there in the walkway going across the bridge. So I imagine within a couple of weeks that should be finished. That's the other lane will be opened up for lanes.
Thank you, Jeannie and Jeremy, for your work on this. This is really good work, and it's really appreciated by all members of council, by myself and all members of the council. So thank you.
I will comment on the Fulton Marsh too. Support from the provincial government, the trail there, down the road down, building the bridge. You're talking, your wood there is treated 2x20. So it's not a cheap project, so it's a really complimentary promise for helping us out there, and going across Fulton Marsh and tap into the Fulton Marsh Trail itself and access everybody, their walkers, joggers, bikers, and so on. So
it completes the link, eh?
yeah, oh yeah, it's a great, a lot of positive comments, residents of Fort Tree that use the trails all the time, and then those are there. So great work by Jeremy and Jeannie, and putting around the table there is great. And same as having the article in the paper, Jeannie, yourself there, and great work too with the trails there. It's a sort of collaboration with government, with Gary, collaboration, and it's a big word now, a big spin nowadays, but it was great to see them step up and help us, and we sort of half and half. So at the end of the day, everybody wins. The residents win the honor, and physical and mental health improve, right?
I'd just like to point out that it's the provincial government that has helped us over. They also helped the eastern end of the island. That trail system is not going to help everybody.
Yeah.
It's great. Fantastic.
We need more than infrastructure, that's all.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other comments or questions on Deputy Mayor Close report? If not, thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. We'll now move to sustainability. As for Chair of the Sustainability Committee, Councilor McDougall to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The reports in the package there will just highlight, go over some of the highlights. The Maritime Electric Solar Farm is on our agenda. The CEO noted that he wasn't last meeting. But he was fielding some questions about the Maritime Electric Solar Farm. The town was approached along with a number of municipalities, Maritime Electric, to build some utility scale solar farm in the owned by the communities. With a small ownership of Maritime Electric, but mostly owned by the communities have been successfully applied for and received funding through Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ISEP. Talks go to 20 megawatt wind farm and allocates a portion of that to Stratford. And when you look at it over the 25-year solar cost, you can see the financing, Maritime Electric's financing, and amortization, the operation and maintenance of the solar farm at 10.6 million. These the costs were estimates, and what happens? The question was raised: what happens when renewable energy is installed? Maritime Electric having to pay the MD power when that kicks in. If it's not easy to predict costs, because they have a spinning reserve and can't just shut it down, so they have this cost for utilities that have unpredictable renewable energy installations. We discussed the switch program. Of course, we were introduced recently to I guess we'll call it a comparable or competing program by the federal government. So it kind of put the switch program into a little bit of a wobble, perhaps. We had a discussion about the FCM agreement, which requires that we establish a loan loss reserve. The CAP added to the draft switch program policy that was previously reviewed by the committee. We don't have legal feedback yet, but we were looking at capping that at about $60,000. Wendy gave the community business engagement report as well, which is contained here in the package. The environmental sustainability coordinator, Maddie, gave a brief report. She noted that the tree planting program is going well. It's been quite a success. They put a lot of work into it. I know that other staff members from the town were pulled to assist with the program, which again has been a great success, a lot of work. And of course, I learned a lot from the program this year, and that it'll be more efficient in the future, but something certainly worthwhile to continue to do. And she noted, Maddie did that the water school program was again successful this year, and 200 students participated. I think Councilor Burridge, Lucy was involved, and just a comment, Abby, our intern for the Climate Sense program, gave an interview to CBC regarding his tenure here with the town of Stratford and the initiative that he led in regard to that program. Abby's an intelligent guy, a really nice gentleman with interesting background from University of Kathmandu, Nepal, received a master's, and it was a pleasure. I know I spent the better part of the morning with him there the other day. An interesting fellow. He'll be leaving us in July. The internship program is finished. The purpose of it was to look at areas that we can mitigate climate change effects on our pumping stations and whatnot, our wastewater management. That's what Abby spent 6 months at. A little off there, Robert. I'm in the right spot there. Yeah. But anyway, he was real, he represented himself and us and the program very well in the CPC interview, and my hats off to Abby, and best of luck to him and any of all his future endeavors. I think that's it for my report.
Thank you. I'd also like to add my good wishes to Abby as well, because I think he's a real asset to the town, the work that he's done, and it brings a lot of information that we're going to use in the future to make decisions around some of the things around some of the rise in sea level, for example, it's going to impact the town. So we really value that research.
Just like to point out one thing, you mentioned the solar or wind turbine. I think it's supposed to be solar. The maritime electric one.
Yeah,
It's topographical area.
Yeah, if it's solar, if I said wind, then yeah.
And the switch program, number 5, I was at the FCM and I asked a question about the switch program that we had, and the federal government implemented a bigger one. They indicated to us that money for a switch program could be used in many different programs. So if this one doesn't work out, we can switch that money over to something else. It's well named. Yeah.
One thing in regards to sustainability, Italian, Solway had their membership drive on Sunday, which I know I missed. I usually join up every year. You pay $20 for family membership, and you get like 5 trees. I don't know if they have any trees left over. Can you still buy memberships, Wendy?
I don't have the answer on the trees, but I know that they're having a second membership drive next Wednesday. I don't know the times.
Okay.
It hasn't been on the town's social media already. It will be, because I did see them posting it, and I was talking to Madison today, and she said that they were doing the second one. So.
Okay, good. Anyway, yeah, it's a fantastic place to put $20 and you walk away with trees.
How do you join?
We usually have a membership drive down in Cotton Park, and you would go and yeah, with your membership, and you get some trees. And all the Solway members are there to help you. Last year I picked out an oak tree, a couple of maples and a couple of evergreens, and then you can gift a membership as well to another family. So I know I gifted to my in-laws and whatever, so you can gift a membership, which is nice too. But great, they do a lot of work. They do work that we don't even know about in a broad area. Support them is good. So I encourage anyone to support that membership drive.
Thank you. Thanks for your report. Any other comments?
Yeah, Steve, Darren talked to us a couple months ago, and I see it every day. Of course, when I'm out driving, looking after the residents in Ward 3, anyway, the industrial park, down there today, a lot of units being built on Hollis Avenue Road, stuff like that. There's no information what's going to be there, or no advertising. And there should something be off the main road, Transcon Highway, but I know Kinlock Creek Plaza over here is a sign, what's in there, Domino's, Home Hardware, and so on. And there's nothing, I don't know where we go with this, but it's nice to have a steel converter, your sign, and advertisement for the industrial park, selling industrial park. There's a lot of business down there. And there's not much, there's a sign we come in there, but you're on the main highway, you're just going right by, you go right around the.
Maybe we could add that to the agenda for the Business Park Corporation next time we convene a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Under planning.
It will be a budget item too.
Yeah, okay, is our responsibility, worship it?
Well, as voting members of the Business Park Corporation,
Yeah.
will be.
Oh, yes, I don't understand that, but I understand that, but the spot, like, the business, is the advertising for them too, right? We probably get we initiated.
Yeah, well, we can talk about the funding model or whatever, how it's going to be paid for.
Yeah.
That'll be part of the discussion. Thanks for your suggestion.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other comments for Councilman McGill?
Your worship, just did a pressing matter, and defend if it's all right if I
Thanks very much for your report and good luck, keep us all safe. Thank you.
I would go to.
Okay, we'll, I think we're gonna be finished here very shortly, so we'll try to wrap it up quickly. We'll move to accountability engagement. That's my committee, and the minutes are in your package. I think what the only highlights are, we went through the performance indicators, and the committee looked at had questions around things, some of the numbers we had for some of these items, and so we hope to have a full report to present to council very soon, and I think there's some more work being done by staff to verify some of the information that's in the performance report. And we talked about the request for decision process, which will hopefully streamline and bring order to and allow tracking for some of the requests we have for decisions from residents, and make it more transparent for residents to see what the status of their request for decision is. So hopefully, anyway, that's my report. Any questions on my report? If not, we'll go nothing on human resources.
No, your worship, but there is a meeting scheduled for next week.
That's great. Thank you. Any inquiries by members of council? Okay. We'll go to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex. So I'll ask Deputy Mayor Clow to give his report.
Yeah, everything is the most status quo now. Turn out the patio doors, and the normal summer things like gardening. And the place is totally full, so all rented, and so everything.
Great, thank you. Okay, no appointments to committees. Nothing there, Robert? No. Any other business anyone would like to raise at this time? Not call for a motion for adjournment. Thank you. We're now adjourned.